Do you know why as a restaurant owner you're struggling with systems in your restaurant? It's because you're using systems, okay? SOPs, boring old SOPs. And those aren't effective. And I'm sure as a restaurant owner, you've already figured that out. If you've been in business for over a year, I'm sure you've learned the hard way that systems don't always stick. In fact, they mostly never do. You usually have some good employees in there that'll stick to them naturally, but it's employees that won't stick to them, which are a majority of your employees, that make it a struggle. Tell me if this sounds familiar, right? You see something wrong in your restaurant, you want to fix it. You create a system and you tell your employees about it. They start doing it for a couple of weeks or maybe even a month, and then all of a sudden they stop doing it because you're not micromanaging them. And then you have to go back to micromanage them in order for them to do it. And then you stop micromanaging them because you get exhausted and burnt out doing it. And then they keep doing what they were doing before and your system fails. And that's normally how a system works, and that's because you're not using a high-level system. A high-level system is how restaurants, high-performing restaurants, high-functioning restaurants use systems to actually stay in place, right? How do these high-performing, high-functioning restaurants actually use systems, actually have all of their staff doing what they want them to do consistently every single day at a high level? It's because they use high-level systems. And I'll explain what that is. It's a 3-step system. But before I tell you that, I want to go back and talk to you a little bit about the system and how systems work and why they're important. I want to give you one that you can actually take into your restaurant and start using tomorrow to make things more effective and make things more functional and give your guests a better experience, because that's what it's all about, giving your guests the best experience possible. That's what every employee should be talking about all the time. That's what you should be talking about all the time. You should be preaching it, giving the guests the best experience possible. So let me tell you about this system. This system helps alleviate long ticket times. Now, if you're a successful restaurant in any way, if you have busy weekends, you're gonna have long time tickets eventually. You can't prevent them. You don't have a big enough kitchen, you don't have enough staff, whatever it is, things cause long time tickets. So it's really important that we have systems in place to kind of alleviate the anger that people will feel, the frustration or resistance people will feel in that experience if there's a long time ticket. Now, resistance, we want to avoid at all costs. What is resistance? Resistance is when a guest feels something that they don't like in a restaurant experience, right? Maybe it's a long wait at the front, maybe it's a bad drink, maybe it's overcooked steak, maybe it's a rude employee, but after a while, too much resistance equals a bad experience, and you've officially lost that guest for life. We want to avoid that at all costs. We want to give the least amount of resistance possible, hopefully no resistance, okay? So how do you do that? You can't prevent certain things from happening. You have to have systems in place. So let's say you have long time tickets. You want to train your staff to have a system. The tickets are going to be a long time. A kitchen staff member that's on the line is designated to inform a manager that they're running behind. 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. That manager informs all of the front of the house staff, including bartenders and servers, so they can inform their guests about the wait for the food, right? So maybe they're taking the order, and after order, by the way, guys, I do apologize. We have a small kitchen. We make everything in-house from scratch. We're very particular about everything that comes out. So it's gonna be about a 25 to 30 minute wait, but I'm gonna make sure it comes out as soon as humanly possible. Now with your staff communicating with the guests, that alleviates some of the pressure of the long time ticket. Now there's some other things we're gonna have to do to follow that up in case that's not enough, but that's definitely a good start, and it's way better than doing absolutely nothing, right? We're communicating with the staff, so it makes their job easier. They know what to expect. We're communicating with the guests, so it makes their experience better. They know what to expect, and then we can set up some fail safes outside of that. But I want you to take that system and start using it, and then once you get that implemented, then we start building up. So how do we do a high-level system? The first step is creation. We have to create the system, right? That's the easy part. That's what most restaurants get right. The second part is proper implementation. That's where most employees get it wrong. That's where most owners, leadership, and restaurants get it wrong. They don't properly implement the system. If you think walking around telling your staff one time about the system is enough, you're absolutely wrong. That's not gonna be enough, not even close. We need to drill it into their heads. We need to commit it to memory, and then we need to get a commitment from them, right? So a couple examples is, yes, we go around and tell everybody, but we also have a list and we mark them off as we tell them. We have them sign a piece of paper that has the new system in place, and we explain it to them. We get them to agree that they know what the system is, and we get them to agree that they know if they don't perform the system, there are going to be consequences like a verbal warning or write-up, okay? There's softer ways to do this. For the sake of time, I'm going through this quick and being pretty forward and curt with you. But we're gonna let them know that they fully understand there's gonna be consequences if they don't do this. Now that they understand it, and once they commit to that, now you've planted a seed in their head that they understand that there's gonna be accountability, and they're more prone to do it and do it consistently. And that means across the board, right? Good employees and bad employees. So now that they've signed that piece of paper, we have it, and we're also talking about in our pre-shifts. And if you've listened to me, pre-shifts, briefings, we're doing it every single day with every single employee, no matter what. That's what high-level, high-functioning restaurants do, and that's what you need to do to become as successful as humanly possible. So during our pre-shifts now, we have a new system out. We're gonna talk about it every single pre-shift. Sometimes you're gonna have a server where you're one-on-one with them and you talk about it 3 days in a row, and they're gonna be like, Preston, I get it. You've explained that system and I understand it, that's enough. That means you've won. That means they've understood, great job. We wanna do that every time. Now that the system's properly implemented, everybody knows what it is, everybody agrees that they know what it is, they've signed off on it, and they understand the consequences if they don't do it, and they agree to that, makes it much easier to hold them accountable. Next step, final step, and the step that 99% of restaurants get wrong, management. Managing the high-level system. We have to manage it. We can't just set it and forget it. That's not how it's gonna work. Or we can't set it and then micromanage it to death. That's not how it's gonna work. We have to manage it. How do we manage it? There's different fail safes we can do that. We can do it with a secret shop. We can do it by watching the staff on the floor. We can do it by seeing if we get complaints. If we get a complaint and we reverse engineer the complaint and find out it's from someone not following a system. There's many different ways to manage it, but it's up to you to figure out ways that you can manage it along the way as much as humanly possible. The most powerful thing is secret shops, and if someone misses it, it's a fail, there's a consequence, right? There's a write-up, there's a warning. So let's say, for example, if a host has a guest that goes over 10 minutes past their reservation time, they have to do X, Y, and Z, right? They have to give them a glass of champagne and then tell the manager. Just an example, right? But then you get a secret shop and they say, we waited 20 minutes over reservation, the hostess didn't say anything, she didn't give us any champagne, and she didn't tell the manager, she didn't even care. Well, now we can hold her accountable, right? She officially broke a high-level system we put in place, and then we properly implemented, and now we're managing it. She decided not to do it, now we have to hold her accountable. Now that's with the secret shop. You're not gonna always catch them with secret shops. That's why it's important to watch them on the floor. That's why it's important to have your trainers who are trained on the floor being your eyes and ears. They're not actually approaching any staff, they're not reprimanding or correcting any staff, they're just reporting back to you. So there's many ways you can do this, but what I'd say to do is start with these 3 steps. Go really basic with it and then start building up. And I guarantee you these systems, these high-level systems will stay in place and you'll see your restaurant grow from the inside out.